Well, we know the Sig tune, and we know the voice, and we know the man. His name is Joe Duffy. Good afternoon to you, Joe. How are you?
Good afternoon, Derek. A wonderful programme as ever, and I must say we've been enlightened here listening in Athlone. Well, we've had Funny Friday to Catherine de Courcy, and the Books, I know them very well, and Richard, of course, and even Eanna, who I have great respect and likeness and fondness for, even though she does think I'm a bit of a need.
Well, hang on, Joe, hang on a second. Eanna was giving that about you a moment ago. Let's remind people why Eanna got annoyed. This was Wednesday's Liveline, just before the end of the show. This is what you had to say.
As well now. Now, I know at one stage, as we were leaving, you can't go into the house where the bats are and the birds.
Okay.
And there was a sign up there saying that some of the birds and the bats are free flying in the next room. So if you're scared of that, don't go in. Now, that wouldn't bother me. I would go in there, but the grandchildren wouldn't, you know.
But bats
so that was fine.
But aren't bats rats with wings?
I know, and I wouldn't be overjoyed with him either. Like the fact.
No, Eanna, that's what got your back up. So go on, you got Joe Duffy's all yours. Give it to
me, Joe. When did you become an expert on wildlife?
Well, I'm not, and I have to say we have been inundated since the programme about bats, and hopefully we didn't get time to go into it today because we had Funny Friday here in Athlone, but everyone knows bats are the most common carrier of human rabies. Now, I don't want to set off the panic, but the symptoms of rabies, as we know, the sense of dread, the headache, the fever, the paralysis, the delirium.
Come on, this is not Liveline. When did Irish cats ever have rabies? Stop this, carry on.
It's a known fact.
Not in Ireland it isn't. Let
Richard in, Eanna. Now, we've heard your piece on it, but
come on to my programme and tell me what to do on my programme. None of your nonsense. You said bats were rats with wings. This is completely untrue. Bats are a completely different
danger. There is a danger in the bat, but you can't. Well, they're not cute and cuddly. I wouldn't snuggle up to a bat if I had the choice. I think they do present a very clear and present danger, and I know for a fact that only this week a man and his wife and the two teenage sons, they were seen handling a rabid bat in Clontarf Park. We had the call in, and hopefully we'll talk to someone next week. The family members, as we understand it, tried to help the bat which tested positive for rabies. So they are very dangerous. End of the story.
Joe, there was one case of a bat worker who picked up rabies, and it was attributed to a bat. Now, any mammal can carry rabies, but statistically, I saw a figure for the number of people who were killed by falling off their toilets in New York, and it exceeds the total number killed in all time by bites from bats.
We're not talking, and the issue is not about falling off toilet seats, whatever it is, the bats versus rats issue. And I mean, look at them, even looking at the bat, it looks like a rat, and it doesn't look like a cute and cuddly. And I think it's a bit dangerous.
And listen, cute and cuddly is no way to judge wildlife. Bats do a huge amount of good in Ireland. They feed on mosquitoes, they feed on midges. 3,000 midges a night are eaten by the smallest bats. Mosquitoes carry lots of different blood diseases, and they are eaten by bats. And really, bats are creatures that are not in any way to be compared with rats. And that's the point I make.
Well, you're entitled to your opinion. I know that next week, and we have people who are concerned about the rabies in the bats, and indeed one county councillor in South Dublin is calling for a vaccination to be implemented, a bat vaccination, and I would urge people who you know, if you have your children out running in the nature and out in the wild, that you need to...
scaremongering.
Well, it's not scaremongering. It's a known fact that human rabies is carried in the bat, and I would call on people, and you can call us now, and you can give us an email on joe@rt.ie for next week. I would urge we should ignore Eanna. They're not cute and cuddly, and get the vaccination now without delay.
They were cute and cuddly. I said cute and cuddly is not the criterion. By
Joe, I assume you're joking. You're not being serious, actually.
Well, absolutely serious, Derek. I mean, people are calling in about rats, and we know the danger of rats. We saw the giant rats. But the bats are people of huge fear of bats. They're hugely dangerous. And don't get me started on the pigeons.
Where did you see giant rats? Where did you see giant rats?
The pigeon is the rodent, is the city rodent, which is perfectly acceptable. People going around feeding them. I see them all the time in St. Anne's Park and all over the city, feeding these rodents and attracting them into the city. I think they're highly dangerous.
You don't have your own loft out in front.
Diseases are evolving all the time. People suffering from fevers and rabies. It's evolving. It's out of control, and we can't be going around saying bats are fine and pigeons are fine. Where do you draw the line?
Well, Eanna said earlier that people who spread that kind of information are idiots.
Well, I know I've been called worse things in my time, Joe. or Derek.
Jeez, you're talking to yourself now.
Eanna the Aegis, maybe. There might be more to the... I'm only joking. Look, but I am serious about the bat.
I know. Let's talk. We actually, believe it or not, with Joe, we have a woman on from Clontarf. Her name is Anne. Hello, Anne. How are you?
Hello. How are you?
Eanna's here, Richard's here, Joe's there.
Well,
what about bats?
This is a real Anne, is it?
No, it's a real Anne. No, it's a real Anne.
No, it's a real Anne. Okay. So I have point out a little bit of culture to the programme vis-a-vis bats. I was travelling in the north of Portugal this year, and I visited a 17th century library in Coimbra, in the university town of Coimbra, which is north of Lisbon. It's a beautiful library, houses old books and manuscripts. The college found that they had a problem with insects that were eating the paper from the books. And for years and years, they had to fight this insect to hold on to the books. And then some years ago, a colony of bats came into the attics there, and they found that the bats ate the insects that would have destroyed the books. So I asked when we were there, well, so what happens during the day and how do you keep the place clean? Because they had these wonderful tables which were made of Indonesian jacaranda and various beautiful tables carved. So they said, well, and then came the story of this amazing collaboration between the bats and human beings, which is the people who were looking after the library, would cover the tables and the parts of the floor at night time with some what they called leather mats. In the morning, they would take these leather mats off and they would sweep out the floor. The bats would go back for their daytime sleep or whatever, and then they would have visitors come to the library again. And it was just an amazing story that these bats somehow had this symbiotic, if you like, relationship with the humans, unspoken, untold. It was a lovely story.
Domesticated. And as we know, the rats love to habitate and live beside humans as well, and so the bats are showing that sort of connection as well.
So Joe knows now what bats love and how bats have social lives.
Well, I'm not saying I'm enormous expert. I'm going what the callers are saying to us.
Joe, bats can't spread rabies. They don't bite into other mammals and pick up rabies from their blood. They don't live like that. They don't migrate. Bats don't come into Ireland from outside. So we're totally immune to rabies as far as bats are concerned here. You really want to do
I don't buy it. I don't buy it. I think the vaccination is hugely important, Richard, and I think it is a little bit irresponsible for you to be saying that the bats are safe. They're not safe creatures. I've seen them going around Clontarf. You see the way they fly. They're dangerous, and the people are susceptible to disease from these bats.
This is lies, Joe. This is not true.
What about the cars flying past you? They're really a danger, Joe. You mustn't go outside the door. You'll be hit by one of those cars. That's really frightfully dangerous.
Well,
and after aeroplanes going over.
And a joke, but the people are afraid of their lives out there.
So where isn't at all afraid you opened your mouth in the first place now? How do you mean vaccinate bats? This is not
vaccinate the bats. The people can be vaccinated.
Against rabies?
Absolutely.
It's not very effective.
No, you can't be vaccinated.
You can, but it's not very good.
I have been vaccinated against rabies. And what it means
touch in the program because you're hanging out with animals. You're like Dr. Doolittle. You're talking to horses and goats and whatever else. I'm talking to real people here. The goats can't call the lives under the Mooney Show.
If you like this on a Friday always, it's a funny Friday always at every Friday.
We've taken something today,
Now go back on the tablets, Joe.
I'm not on any tablets, thank you very much, Richard.
This says here, what a brill takeoff of Joe. Put Eanna out of her misery, please.
For God's sake, now, Jerry, what are you saying about the whole thing?
It's all over
things all together, beautiful little thing. That's just the rabies wouldn't do anything. Joe's out for Fridays. It's not legion altogether.
Did you think it was Joe?
I wouldn't have been surprised, but he wasn't aggressive.
He did. He bought it hook, line and sinker. Richard Callan wasn't far behind either.
Yeah. Oliver, thanks very much. Bye.
Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to you, Joe.
And on knobnation.com. Thank you, Mooney.
Bye.